Manuel San Safari bring you the Promise Insurance Show. So I did a show in 2022. I featured it and I edited it in 2023. And I wanted to listen in because there are some amendments that have come through. But let's most importantly want to hear from a testimony before you can delve into the subject matter. Thank you. Listen in. By Jonan Chisache, we had the acting MD then, who is now the finance manager, Tony Modola, making very wonderful remarks about the brand UAP Old Mutual. We had the MD, Julius Kaketo of Postbank. We had the executive director of Postbank, that is Andrew Kavera. We had a testimonial from, okay, actually we're going to delve deeper into the testimonial from Gloria. Then we also had the chairman of the board of UAP Old Mutual Life, that is Professor Samuel Sejaka. So, as we had, of course, the brilliant moderator, Mildred Shoaise,
thinking about the future already, even when the child is still in the womb. Which schools will they go to? What kind of education you want to give to them? And when we talk about insurance, we know that various insurers have come through to give us education policies, including UAP Old Mutual. And I know, I've been told, that you are one of the clients, which is a brilliant one, because sometimes people sell ideas or sell things that they themselves are actually not part of. What advice would you give to that parent about, you know, this education insurance? Someone is saying, why do I give you my money now to educate my child 18 years to come at university? What if I am not around? Like Jonan was saying, you know, people live in a lot of uncertainty. What's been the experience? What's the advantage of taking up such packages?
Thank you very much, Mildred. Yeah, yes, I'm here mainly, I'm sure, because of being, I might be one of the long outstanding clients when it comes to most of the policies here, and especially
terms and conditions applied to inviting.
Yes, I will speak to the SOMESA Plan, yeah, but I've done others here. Okay. You know, okay, there are many books in the world, but you know there is the Bible, yeah, and I like to refer to the Bible because many of us can believe in it. And you know the Bible, which we all read, we all like to quote Jeremiah 29, that whenever we are in problems, I know the plans that I have for you. Before you were made, before I formed you, I knew you, and I have good plans for you. So I like to apply it in a different way. If God, before he formed you in your womb, he knew you, not so. And we were created in his image, and we are supposed to also have wisdom like him. Why for us don't we also plan ahead for those ones we also bring in who are formed in our wombs? Because before God formed us in our wombs, he knew us, not so. And he made some plans. So how did I come to, before I tell you whether it's good or bad, how did I come to have a UAP?
You're freaking us out talking about bad somewhere, yes, but it's okay.
No, whether it's good or bad, okay, but it's a good thing. It has worked for me. I can attest to it. My husband can attest to it. So we gave birth to our firstborn, and both of us happened to have lost our parents. And we had some nasty experiences when our parents died. I realized that the relatives can take everything. You can have built houses for rent, they are taken. You leave for the children money in the bank, it is taken. Generally, everything you leave for them can be gone. And so I was like, but we have this, now we have given birth to a firstborn, we have a child there. So for us, what plans do we have? Are we going to sit there and say, every child comes with their own luck? Are we going to say, are there things we can do? So I wanted some assurance that indeed, should anything ever go wrong, we can have a fallback position. Our children can study. Because I believed that, yeah, having looked after myself since I was 17, I knew that the thing that made me survive was my parents left me with an education. Yes, they left me in senior 6, but they left me in a good school, and at that point they were in the village, but they left me in one of the best schools in Western Uganda, Mary Hill. So they died when I was in senior 6, and I was at a point where anybody could pick me up because they had given me a good foundation. It's not like if they had left me in the village. I would have been picked up by one of the village old men to marry me, and I would be one of those women in the village. So I said, I think the most important thing that the child needs, leave them with a good education, good foundation, and when you have spoken into their life very well. My mother, having been a teacher, she used to speak to me so much. So I was looking for such a solution. So in looking for that solution, visited some. My husband is a doctor, so I used to do the walking of looking around. And somehow I ended up at the UAP. And so I went to another like 2. But when I reached at UAP, of course, as someone who had done SCCA, I wanted to review the financials. I wanted to know what is the structure. I really wanted to know who I'm dealing with, because I would hear people don't pay these insurance companies. They are thieves. They are everything. So to cut the long story short, we sat down. We put down the plan, of course, with my husband. We said, how much money would we want our child to have when they are like 18 years to join university? And we calculated, we looked at the kind of university we wanted, we calculated, and so they were many years ahead. And what is the difference between just a bank account nowadays with this partnership that Postbank and UAP has, which were not there at that time? You would have a bank account, was a separate bank account. Insurance was separate. So the only thing that gave me something similar to what the two are entering into was that SOMESA Plan. So we put what we wanted the child to have. She is now, in 2 weeks, she'll make 20. So it means it's matured. So we put that on her 18th birthday, we would want this amount of money to be there, because we had computed that that's when she would be ready for university. And so we worked backwards, and then we said, you know, I have rugezigezi sometimes, as people say. So I walked up to UAP, that building at Kimathi. We didn't, yes, the agent talked to Bichibichi. I told them, you agents, you like even to add in your lies. So we walked with my husband, and we went up to the real office, sat there, and I got the paper, read sentence by sentence, asked questions, and then I told them, we do not want that when the man dies, or if I ever die, we want, if anything happens to any of us, this policy must mature. And we want an assurance. So, of course, we built the policy, the 3 of us. The 4, it was the 2 of us, the agent, and I think that person must have been the general manager at that time. I forget his name, he's no longer in UAP. And so we set up, and we set up the first SOMESA Plan, and of course, we later set up for all the 4. We have 4 children, and all of them have the SOMESA Plan. There are many, even the Bible tells us that there are many investments. In Ecclesiastes 11:12, they always tell us, put your invest in not in one, in about 7 or 8 ventures. So this is one of them. And so we sat down and we calculated how much we wanted to put. They worked backwards and they took our average age, went for medical checkup, and they said, this is how much you'd have to put per month. Of course, since the years were many, the money they said we can put per month was equal to how much we normally paid in wedding meetings and at gatherings of Arsenal playing. So I was like, oh, now we even have where to keep some of our money. So it was not a difficult journey putting that money aside. Okay, even when the children became 4, it wasn't a difficult journey. The most important is that it was like a bank account, because every month we would put. We had chosen to put every quarter because we had combined when we were dating, so we had a car rental. So that rent would come, drop on the account, then be picked to a UAP. And so the most advantageous of having a school fees plan is that you have like a bank account, but it is insured. If you get any problem, there are those events that would make it mature. And me, I needed that assurance, plus that assurance that even if anything happened to me on the 18th birthday, the only person who would be paid would be that child, the person you have written there. So that one I knew, even if anything ever happened to me or my husband, even if we were never there, on this child's 18th birthday, she'll be an adult, she can sign, and nobody can ever go. And there was, if anything happens to you, we shall give them a certain percentage every month, no, every year. And that percentage, when I computed, it was good to pay for many of these nice schools in secondary. So that's how we entered on that. What have been the advantages? There is that certainty. One, it's a good saving way, save with a purpose. So it was a way of saving with a purpose. Money set aside with a purpose of that when the child reaches university, you don't have to start meandering around, and yet you produced. Yet for you, when God, before he formed you, he knew you and he knew the plans he had for you. Now for you, you're here just producing and then just looking around for fees. Long story short, it matured during COVID, the whole maturity, and because we were still alive, they added on bonuses, okay? So from the sum assured, we got extra by about almost 30%. That day it hit the account. It was so nice. Yeah, that day it was so nice. I actually sat down and I was like, you mean, would I have this money? If I had decided to keep it somewhere, never, I would never. Of course, there was lockdown, so there was a delay a bit. But as I speak, she's going to university. And the only thing we needed were her results and herself. We didn't need anything else. Even in this economy, when people are saying the economy is hard, for us, only we needed was for her to be alive and also to have passed and to be there. Some of you who work in UAP, you know her. She did internship here. She's called Denise, I'm the mom. So she did internship here. So all we needed was a brain, her being alive, and an admission letter. That's all we needed. And she's now at university. And we are there reaping from a decision we made many years ago when she was still a nursery school child. And now she's at university and we are here only settled. And the siblings also have. So why do I think we live in uncertainty. You can have houses for rent, you can have bonds, you can have what, but I like this, the insurance products, what is good about them. They are a bit far but near, you can access them. But also when you might be having very little money, that sometimes it may not fit in a bond where by the time you go to a bond through your commercial bank and you have only some little money, the interest can be eaten up. But you know, here you can send on mobile money, you can deposit on which day, and every day you get a statement. It might look little, but it's a lot. And when you, after consistently doing it, you see that it's a long. Of course, with time, I became like one of the other extended staff that started telling people about it. My neighbors joined, my workmates, my students, my church. I think even our clergy, my church, we also have umbrella trust funds for our clergy. In other words, we save for everybody, that when we get a new clergy, we start putting for them some little money that the day they transfer them, they will have something, okay? Instead of disturbing Christians, let's send this man away. Okay. For us, we start preparing for your exit when you reach. So they are good products, they create certainty. When you need the money, you can get it. And having worked, because I've worked in procurement at the central bank for about 7 years, now I work in administration, I'm a contract manager. So I have procured insurance, so I have learned it. I have done claims, so I know they pay and I know how big they pay. And so I encourage people, take up insurance. You can have so many other things you do. You can take up insurance because it helps, it pays. Sometimes we die because of ignorance. Thank you.
Wow. That's where we get.
Now, we have heard from that testimony. That's Madame Gloria to ISA. And she comes from Bank of Uganda. She has given a very good testimony. Yes, it has been quite long, but it's worth it. And now, remember last time we had used an example of 50 million. How do you get the 50 million? Remember, we had, as she said, you have to plan in advance. If we had start with 1 million per term, and for a period of say 3 years, you will require, oh my God, Moses, you'll change that. Okay, I mentioned that if we start with 1 million times 3 years, And if the child is going to spend, say, 3 years in nursery, that's another 9 million. So let's just keep that figure, and we say that in secondary, let's say they get an average school of about 1.2 million shillings times 3 terms, then times 7 years. Those are 10 years. So that is 25 million plus the 9 million. That would be the target. So you're saying here it's about 34 million. We can just round it up to about 50 million, because there are other amenities that you need. And because it's your age, of course, for her, by the time Gloria entered the policy was didn't have this kind of system. Right now the system is there. They compute for you. As we mentioned, if this was a target of say 50 million, the person's birthday, this is the parent's birthday. Many times we think we are insuring the children, but the children are beneficiaries of the policy. So this is a period of say 10 years. Of course, a male. And if you want to say monthly premium, and payment frequency, we would have said we want it to be paid on annual basis, and we shall pay it over 3 years, because again, secondary can be high. As this thing is computing, we also need to know that, of course, your age, depending on your age, the older you are, just like these mortality tables that were presented in October 2023 by UBOS, they show that, of course, there is a bigger percentage of people when they are still young, but they keep reducing. So of course the chances of dying are much more. So that is the science, or the basis why your date of birth is needed. And if this was 50 million that we had agreed upon, if this person, this is my birthday, just celebrated my birthday in Christmas time, and if you're saving for 10 years, remember we said you have to save for at least a sure time that will be able to take care of your child. So if we use monthly premium, because we know many people earn salary, then I will show you that there's actually a return. Okay, there is a discount for those who pay annually or half yearly. I'll show the example. So this is the example we used. We may not put the child's name right now, but you will find that this is the computation. So what is this computation? Remember, I mentioned that the computation comes in because why you ask for your date of birth, because these are age-based policies. So imagine of course, if we can't be insuring the children, but if we were to insure the children, of course, their premium will be much lower because they are much more, and they usually take a long time to die. But of course, as you grow older, as we noticed, this is UBOS population census, and there's going to be another census in 2024. But we shall see that these numbers, the facts that will remain more or less the same. So the older you are, the more chances that you're going to pass away. So you have to plan within that period of time. So let's look at this example. If we were say monthly, you'd find that this client is paying 360,000 on a monthly basis, 361,000 on a monthly basis. And what are we covering? We have 50 million. We have a waiver of premium. We have the child income benefit. The benefit that she talked about, how this benefit works is, should anything happen to the child, to the parent, let's say, God forbid, they only saved for 1 year, they would have saved up about, we're going to do the numbers. Okay, let's do the numbers. If they were paying this amount, 361,309, so times 12 months, so times 10 years, they would have paid up 43.37. However, here we are seeing the sum insured is going to be higher, and it's always very good. That's why that lady said, whenever you're looking out for policies, you have to consider where you're going, otherwise you will get a raw deal. So the child income benefit pays 6 million. Imagine you've only paid 4.3 million in the year. Here you're going to pay, we're going to pay, the insurance company is going to pay 6 million to push your child through the initial stages of school for the rest of the policy term. upon which they still have to pay the full 50 million upon maturity. What does that mean in layman's language? Let's see what that means. So if you are paying 6 million shillings, we're paying out 6 million shillings every year, say for the, let's say worst case scenario, for the 9 years, because you have only paid out for the first year. Now for the, within the first 9 years of the policy, because the policy is still running, much as the policy owner has passed on, we're going to pay 54 million in child income benefits. Then on top of that, we still have to pay the 50 million that was meant for maturity. So meaning the loss ratio is about 104 million, and that is why you have to take advantage of this before the insurance company changes it. So this is it. The life cover, this is like Mabugo, 5 million, 10% of the sum insured. This is just an example, and the premium allocation you're paying for it is just 4,000, very little money. Okay, so let's look at if you are paying annually, and then we just say annually, such that it now brings for you. Remember at that time when you're paying monthly, we had seen the figure of 4.3 million. That is 46 million at the end of the maturity period. But here we're going to pay you for okay, you would have contributed 41 million at the end of the policy term. So imagine this is what you would have paid. I think you will remove that. You would have paid about 4.1 million. Then for the 10 years, you would have paid 41 million. So meaning you're having a return of much more. But now, how do you compute the return? Because remember, we said upon maturity, we're going to pay you in a period of, say, 3 years. Now, this is the figure. We tell you that the maturity payout will be paid at the end of the 10 years accumulation phase annually in installments of 17.3 million over 3 years. So it's the same whether for a monthly or annually, as long as, or biannually, as long as you have chosen the same period, or the sum insured will be more or less the same. So what does this mean? Let's see what that means. 17 million. So upon maturity, having paid 41 million, you would have accumulated 17.324.9. Okay, let's just round it up to 9. Then because you're paying it annually, so you would have paid up 51.9 million, because the time value of money is very important, because it helps you know that this money is also being invested further to accumulate all this. Okay, so having said that, let's listen in to the just one last testimonial from from my MD that time, because he mentioned there were quite a number of policies they paid. Because today we're only going to focus on the SOMESA Plus. It will be very important for you to see these figures. Okay, let's see how the MD that time left the stage.
A standing ovation, actually. If we didn't have we still have a lot more. That's interesting. I think one particular thing I pick out is that we tend to invest for. Every time you're hearing a parent, I'm investing for, but sometimes you need to invest in the children, and that investment, education, is the in, as opposed to I'm building houses, I am, buying a lot of land for the children. There is a lot more that you need to do. And at one point in time, I thought Gloria had come to my home, because I used that particular scripture to name my child Jeremiah. I alone know the plans, and I pick up that, if God knew before I was formed, then with the parents need to. Mr. Kavera, I need to come to you.
The country as it is tumbulwa gatako ebo then give
our partners in this by of course giving them business, checking out their services, look out for their partners, the distribution channels, whether the agents, whether the fintechs they're using, name it. It has been a brilliant presentation. We can't wait to hear for the next part of the segment next week. Please keep tuned. For today, okay, I want to wind it up at that note. Thank you for your attention, and until next time, I am Emma Sanyusafali, bringing you the Promise Insurance Show that is going to go bigger this year. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year.